Okay, so we're going to take a look at how apostrophes are used in English to show ownership. So, for example, if you've got a singular noun like the student, and you want to indicate ownership, for example, the student has a report. So the student's report was late, for example. Then you would add apostrophe S. So for singular nouns, you add apostrophe S to indicate that the report belongs to the student. Let's take a look at another example. The dog. Again, a singular noun. You want to show that the dog's tail was long. Again, singular noun, apostrophe S. Same principle, tail belongs to the dog, apostrophe S after the singular noun. If you've got a plural noun, so for example, using the same examples as above, the students, you want to say that there's more than one student and that their reports were late. So the students' reports were late, more than one student, more than one report. Then it's, rather than apostrophe S, it's S apostrophe. The apostrophe goes after the S. Again, plural noun, the dog's tails were long. It's a plural noun, so it's S apostrophe, the dog's tails, and that indicates that the tails belonged to the dogs. There are some exceptions to the plural possession rule. We're going to take a look at some of those now. So, for example, in the case of irregular plurals not ending in S, so the plural of woman, for instance, is women. And if you want to say the women's coats were red, for example, just add the women's coats were red. So if it's an irregular plural, then it's apostrophe S. Let's take another example, man and men. So the plural of man is men, and if you want to say the men's room, the men's room is downstairs. Then it's apostrophe S, and that indicates that the room, it's the men's room. It can be quite tricky this sometimes, so let's just take a look at one more example. An irregular plural of child is children. So if you want to say the children's play area, so it's an irregular plural. We're going to take a look at another exception on singular nouns that end in S. So let's just take as our example the octopus's eyes are open. So we've got a singular noun there ending in S. And you've got two options here, really. You can either say add apostrophe S, the octopus's eyes are open, or it's also correct just to have an apostrophe after the S, the octopus eyes are open. When you're deciding which one to pick, it's best just to think, well, which one sounds better? In this case, the octopus's eyes are open sounds better than the octopus eyes are open, so you generally go for that one there. Let's just take a look at another example. If you've got a name that ends in S, like Charles, and you want to say Charles's bike is expensive. Again, you've got two options. You can say Charles' bike is expensive, or Charles's bike is expensive. And again, both options are correct. But again, Charles's bike, that's probably how you'd say it, rather than Charles' bike. So that's probably the more sort of natural option to use. Just because it can be quite a tricky area, we'll take a look at one more example. Mr. Jones' cat is ginger. And again, you've got two options: Mr. Jones S apostrophe, or Mr. Jones's cat is ginger. And again, both options are correct. It's just, I mean, sometimes it's just a matter of personal preference if it's Mr. Jones or Mr. Jones's. Let's take a look at another exception to the basic rules now, which is compound nouns. Now, compound noun, that noun is something like the commander in chief. And if you want to say the commander in chief's car is red, if you've got a compound noun, basically you add apostrophe S to the last word in the noun. So in this case it's chief, and you add the apostrophe there. The commander in chief's car is red. Again, that indicates possession. It's his car. Another quick example there. My mother-in-law's hat is green. Same principle, apostrophe S on the last noun there, and that indicates that the hat belongs to the mother-in-law. Okay, let's take a look at another principle now, which is where you have more than one owner of an item. Let's say you've got a cat and it's Lucy and Martin's cat. Well, if you want to show that the cat belongs to both Lucy and Martin, then you've really only got to put an apostrophe at the end of the last noun, really, and that indicates that the cat belongs to both Lucy and Martin. If we're talking about two cats, you've got one cat that belongs to Martin, one cat that belongs to Lucy, then each requires their own possessive apostrophe. Lucy's and Martin's cat. Two separate cats. Now, the last thing that I want to look at really is a very special case in terms of apostrophes that are used for expressions of time. Now what you do is you add apostrophe S for a single time period, for example a year or a day. Let's take a look at an example. I earned a wages. A week is a single period of time, so you add apostrophe s. If it's for more than one time period, then it's s apostrophe. So for example, we won 2 years supply of cat food. Now 2 years, that's more than one time period, so it's s apostrophe. So just to recap there, we just looked at various examples of how apostrophes are used to indicate possession or ownership. We've looked at some exceptions to the basic rules, and in the next video we'll take a look at how apostrophes are used to replace letters.